to another episode of Between Nerds. My name is Aldo Mendez, and I'm here with my hosts.
My name is Drew Elias. Welcome to Between Nerds. We're happy to have you here for episode 18. It's an exciting week.
18? 17?
17,
We're
excuse
on
me.
episode 17.
I'm already messing up. I'm sorry. I apologize. But that's how you know we're recording this live. There's a lot going on. I feel good this week. I feel up. I'm about it. I guess I'm looking into the future.
Yeah, next 4 years maybe might be a little different than the last 4 years. But thank you everybody for keeping on listening. And I know we were late on last episodes, but today we are recording on Sunday, the November 8th.
Today is November 8th, 2020, still somehow, but it seems like all the good news started coming in at the end of the year, so I'm not too upset about it.
Yeah, we could have definitely had a better 2020, but, things go as they go. But thank you, everybody, that used the hashtag NerdyPause. We were able to make our biggest contribution to our one of our select nonprofit organizations,
The Humane Society of El Paso.
Congratulations, Valentin. We'll get you your new Ryuk from Death Note figurine. It's pretty cool. I like it.
And that's the thing about our giveaways. Me and Aldo sit here and we do a random number generator, and that's how we record the giveaways. But we like that there seems to be a prominence in people that support the show frequently, and it's cool that we're able to give back to the people that give back to us, even if it's just like Valentin listening to the episodes every Monday morning. I think that's a decent enough contribution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Just listening to us it's more than enough, but we do want to make this, and we talked about this earlier, we don't want this to be a podcast of a pretentious view on the animes we watch. We want to give the opportunity to the things you guys want us to watch.
And I think we've tried to show that for at least the last couple months, because the most flack we've gotten from our opinion, especially me and you, Aldo, was from the Cowboy Bebop episode, which Lloyd really liked it. It's a classic anime, probably top 50 anime titles of all time, correct? Mm-hmm. And me and you we liked it, but we were really critical of it. And we had a lot of people that listened to the show, like CJ, being vocal advocates against our opinion. So we were like, okay, we want this to be a community effort. So we threw him on the very next episode. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're always preaching about talking to us on Twitter, or even the email if you don't want anything as public. We'll read any emails we get. We just don't get any emails.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what I was gonna say is that we need your input as well. We want your input. We want to watch things that you guys are watching, because at some point, if we don't get any suggestions, we're just gonna start randomized animes.
Yeah. This past week, I know a lot of people were really busy with following other things on Twitter. It seems like everyone in the world's focus was on one very important,
which were the elections.
Yeah. Everyone was focused on the election this week, which is fine. I get it. But we were preaching for new anime suggestions for the Twitter poll, and I'm glad we did eventually get at least 4. But 4 weeks ago, we were getting a bunch of suggestions, 50 votes on the poll. This week, we totaled out at 22. Mm-hmm. But this is that in-between session, you know what I mean? Everyone's...
And I think our spooky month that we didn't do new polls and we just got the 3 losers at the beginning of the month, I think that kind of backtracked everybody being active on these polls. But I mean, the polls are coming.
We're trying to do them every week because, if anything for us, the best part about this podcast is the interaction we get from the community about their favorite anime. Mm-hmm. There were no sleepers this past week on the poll. Attack on Titan, fire. Gurren Lagann, I talk about it every week. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid is a super classic. Mm-hmm. Well, it's not even a classic yet because it's fairly new. Okay. But I'm glad that Mr. J, who won our giveaway 2 months ago for the month of September, I'm glad he suggested it because that's the type of anime, a fantasy slice of life that we haven't even considered yet. Mm-hmm. And just anything you like or you're watching, especially this next anime season, winter 2021, which I want to talk about a little bit during the Nerd Down, but there's going to be a lot of fire coming up. So if there's anything you need us to watch context-wise to understand the next anime season, please tell us.
And it's a lot easier for us to... Because when we get suggestions, we know someone is going to listen to it because they voted and they...
Even if it's one person.
Even if it's just one person, we're making that episode for whoever suggested that anime, you know? So it's... Just give us your suggestions. By the way, we are starting a new month. This month of October, we're donating to Candlelighters of El Paso, which is a New Mexico, El Paso kind of organization that they concentrate on helping kids with cancer. You know?
But not only children with cancer, but helping the families of children with cancer. Because I have one of my first cousins when I was in high school, Vanessa Garcia, she passed from brain cancer at about 12 years old when I was 16.
Alex Trebek just passed away from pancreatic cancer.
Alex Trebek just passed away from pancreatic cancer. And I know it's like, I watched an episode of Jeopardy this past week. It seems like Alex Trebek very much knew what was going to happen to him, and he was not. He was resigned to it. Like, he was comfortable. He knew what he was going to be known for, and he was happy about it. But hearing the news today about his passing, I'm worried more about his family. You get what I mean? Because it's the people around him that are going to be feeling that the most. It seems like he was at peace, which I'm happy for him, but I'm worried about his grandkids. I'm worried about his children.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing to go. I never gone through anybody going through cancer. I mean, I think the closest person it was my cousin's grandma, but I wasn't like old enough to even understand or be involved in that.
And that's a couple steps removed too.
You know?
Yeah.
So, so we are donating to Candlelighters. Please use the hashtag Nerds for Candlelighters. Candlelighters is dedicated to enriching the lives of children who have cancer, and they provide hope, support, encouragement. Like Drew said, they also help out the families and the community at large. So that's what we want to be about. So we're going to be donating to them. Hopefully we have a big contribution from you guys so we can make a bigger contribution for it, you know? And this brings us down to the end of housekeeping, I guess.
No, absolutely. This past week, we watched Akame Got Killed, which is based off a 2010 manga published by Square Enix, written by Mr. Takahito, and the anime started in 2014 and went as far as May 2015. Mr. Aldo Mendez, how did paint me a big picture? Paint me some broad strokes. Paint me some overarching things. What do we know about Akame Got Killed?
Man, if I want to get really deep into it, I would say it's about the friends you make along the way.
You think so?
Almost seems so, because not even the friends you make along the way, but it almost like, what would you sacrifice for your friends, or you know, how you get to know people and how you get to, you know, be involved with people. Well,
Akame, so very surface level story.
Surface
level story wise. It's about a group of assassins called Night Raid, which are the leaders of a revolutionary force trying to overtake an empire. So it's the plot to Star Wars.
That's as shallow
the original trilogy. That's it. Like, if you want a surface level understanding of Akame Got Killed, it's fucking Star Wars in a medieval fantasy France. I don't know.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, kind of like almost Zelda-ish vibes to it. That's what I thought.
It's very obvious Japanese influences over a medieval European like landscape, which is Zelda. That's the Legend of Zelda in a nutshell.
And it's it was interesting to me. At the beginning, I did not know what the hell was going on. They introduced us to Tatsumi. He arrives at this capital town, and the first thing we see is Leon, who just scams him over his money or something like that. Her being one member of the Night Raid, you know?
Right. And really early on, especially with this first interaction with Leon, I'm glad you brought up you thinking that the overarching plot or like lesson here is about the friends you make along the way. I thought about it a little differently. I think it's more about learning about your sexuality as a young adult. Because Tatsumi's 15, 16, so like he's his prime horny level years. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and we did talk about this. Very, very darling in the Franks.
Yeah, it's very darling in the Franks because a lot of the sexuality, especially of the female characters, are they're the dominators in the relationship, which
very strong female characters.
Yeah, very strong female characters. Which it's and the female characters from Akame Got Kill, I've seen a lot on anime Twitter, seem to be the most dominating ones, and that goes for all waifu really prominent characters I see on anime Twitter. It seems like these nerds just want to be like they want the girl to take the lead in a lot of these situations, which I find kind of funny. But a lot of the characters we meet, especially with Tatsumi's first interaction with Leon, right away the first thing he notices about her is that she's hot, she's got big tits, she's half naked.
Go ahead.
Well, what I thought you brought up an interesting point when I came over was that it's surface level fan service. Like, it's not too much that it takes away from the story, but
correct. Yeah, it's like the enough amount of fan service because after you meet Leon, okay, you see what's going on, but then you start getting into the other characters. You're like, oh, okay, this is why the nerds like it.
Well, every character that's introduced is almost like a different level of like this guy learning about his own sexuality. You know what I mean? All the girls at some level have like some kind of interaction, some kind of attraction to him based on his personality. There's even a gay character introduced, but that like right away it's like
very off-putting for him.
It's off-putting to him because he's worried about his own sexuality because he doesn't understand it yet. But once he's comfortable with both himself and that guy,
they do get a better.
It's like a really platonic thing. Like it's like obviously like they're not into each other, so why the fuck would that be like that? But basically,
I didn't see it like that. Okay.
Well, for me, every female character introduced is just a different level of like his like him learning about his own sexuality.
Yeah, but like that's putting it in very like, you know, in good words. But like earlier today, I was telling you that not that I see it like that, I don't see it as a big issue on this anime. But you've noticed that when the creator of the writers, they're introducing a gay character, somehow some of the other members or some of the other characters, they act kind of like
like they're scared. And I noticed that with so Tatsumi joins a group of assassins called Night Raid, and one of the prominent Night Raid characters here is called Bulat. That's who we're talking about. He's a gay dude, but Tatsumi's first interaction with him is he's scared of him because he's just like, hey, I'm a big, strong gay dude. And Tatsumi's first interaction is like, oh, please don't touch me, Mr. Gay Man. Like,
Mr. Big Man.
Which is super homophobic.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two.
But then again, the way you put it, like, oh, this kid is not, you know, sure about his sexuality.
He's juvenile. He's juvenile in the head, and I think that shows a little bit about Japanese culture as well. Because even though we think about, especially after watching anime, they almost seem like they seem sexually liberal. But what we do know about Japanese culture is that maybe socially they're a little more conservative, because I'm not entirely sure they have full LGBT rights. And it's not that he's being completely homophobic when Tatsumi meets him, but he's afraid in like an unhealthy way, which doesn't make sense. It's just like he's never interacted with somebody like that.
It's kind of like in some way they're trying to convey the reaction of the majority of the population of the community.
Right.
For them to see a little bit more politically correct, so these people won't shun down the anime. You know, it kind of seems like a politically correct kind of, or not politically correct, but
it's PC in the opposite direction.
Yeah,
because if the manga was written in 2010,
it's like taboo, so they don't want to really go into it.
Right. Kinda. If the manga was written in 2010, before like the rest of the world realized that maybe people like this had rights, the author being conservative a little bit and not wanting to step on anybody's toes was like, oh, it's weird, it's super crazy. But every other character here, there's as far as the main cast is concerned, there's only like 2 other main male characters besides Bulat introduced, the other one being Mr. Lubbock, and he's also a member of Night Raid, but he is meant to be there's not a lot of like foil characters, like opposite characters in this anime. A lot of them are like mirrors of each other, but on opposite sides of the political spectrum. But Lubbock is the closest mirror to Tatsumi, because if Tatsumi is young enough that he's not entirely sure who he is as a sexually active and awake adult. Lubbock is very sure who he is.
Lubbock is trying to peep Tom.
He's the horn dog of the group. He knows like what he likes. He knows what his kinks are. He knows what girls he's into. All that. And
we find out that he has like a crush like on the boss like later on.
Right. The leader of Night Raid, who's Mr. Najinda. Well, the way she's introduced, like she's such a hard ass, she might as well be a dude, but Miss Najinda. And
it's a very extensive list of characters in this fucking anime.
It's so many.
Yeah,
if we fuck up on names, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's and they just introduce new ones and everything. But yeah, we go along. Tatsumi. It's then almost put into this team.
Right. I'm sorry. I didn't finish explaining. Broad spectrum. Tatsumi is from a rural northern village. He came to the capital of this unnamed empire to make some money to send back home. And once he gets here, he's taken in by a noble family. They turn out to be really shitty people that are torturing poor people and putting them in cages. And he becomes a member of this assassin group called Night Raid, who is looking to overthrow the empire.
Correct. Very intense fucking weird thing with that little girl picking up homeless people and just fucking killing them. It is very Dahmer kind of thing to me.
Right. And I think what I was saying about the mirror images between like, so if our main group of protagonists are assassins, who you would traditionally think of being as the enemy, right? The nobles in every situation end up being the actual antagonists of this anime. So what I think they're trying to show is the duality of a civilization is that like the people in charge, when given unchecked power, end up becoming they're fascists. You get what I'm saying?
Correct,
like, yeah, they're really corrupt. And even though there are good people on that side that have the country's best interests in mind, they're not in a powerful political position enough to stop like the actual evil from happening.
Correct. Yeah, and it gets very Tatsumi goes into this little moral kind of problem or within himself, like, oh shit, like I just made a friends with a bunch of assassins, but they are killing bad people, but these bad people are in, selected officials kind of thing, like we meet the ogre commander, which was the teacher of later on the girl that goes crazy with a Koro, that little puppy guy, and yeah, they get him introduced into the Night Raid, and he starts training. He starts doing chores around the house, and we meet Akame.
Yeah. It's called Akame ga Kill
for a reason.
The most powerful assassin in this Night Raid group, her name is Akame. So Akame ga Kill is just about Akame fucking killing people, right? So originally, well, maybe that's already a spoiler, me saying originally, but early on in the anime, you're led to believe that Akame would be the main love interest. Because Tatsumi being such a shy, meek little virgin, he's automatically afraid of her because all these girls are hot. And then Akame is such like an asexual being because she's killed so many people, so she doesn't even feel human emotions like that. She gets undressed in front of him. She's not worried about... She doesn't see him as a dude, you know what I mean? She doesn't see him as a sexual being. He's all a little horny 15-year-old fuck, and she's just getting undressed and like talk about his fly being down and shit like that. But for me, watching it by myself, I was not too excited about it because the first like 6-7 episodes are just like a mini training arc, and they're just like, this is Tatsumi trying to learn to be an assassin, but he's really bad at it. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and we learned that the guy that was the head of the empire, the emperor, he was a very righteous dude. This happened 1,000 years ago or something like that, is mentioned in the anime. He's a very righteous dude, but he was worried that along the way the empire will get corrupt. So he created this 48 imperial weapons that were made
Imperial noble arms
that were made from different monsters, S-Class, Danger, Beast, and all this, which brings me kind of into like a Fantastic Beast kind of Harry Potter kind of world.
No, that's exactly what it is. So it's a fantasy world. It's a fantasy medieval European world. So there's a bunch of fantasy monsters around, and they label these danger beasts by different levels. Like, oh, that's a tier 1 beast. That's an S-Class beast. That's a... You get what I'm saying? But what you're saying is... The Emperor made these 48 weapons by drawing on specific materials from S-Class Danger Beasts. So there's like a magical string from a dragon.
Yeah.
There's armor created from demons.
Their teeth or something like that. Like very Zelda when you get the fire and ice arrows.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like you get that element from that monster and you get the other element from that monster. It's kind of like the same thing. So say a fucking dragon had very strong scales, they would make an armor made out of those scales.
Exactly. And that's the power system for Akame ga Kill, which like is a very juvenile power system, because I was comparing it to, remember when we watched Hunter x Hunter, even though we didn't talk about season 2, you watched much of season 2 on your own, and when you learn about Nen and the power system there, it's fluid. You know what I mean?
It's a strong structure.
It's like Pokemon. There's checks on each other. You get what I'm saying? If I'm a manipulator Nen master, then a power Nen master can beat me, and like there's checks and balances like that.
Correct.
But this, like these Imperial arms in Akame ga Kill, feels a lot more like JoJo's, where it's just like whatever the fuck the author thought that week would be cool to draw, it just happens.
And you can see that they tried, because like the only like check and balance thing that I saw was that your weapon has to be compatible with that person's personality, power, whatever, outfit.
Right.
You know?
So it couldn't be like Aldo has the gun Imperial arm and then I pick it up and I use it. That wouldn't happen, because that Imperial arm's probably going to reject me.
Yeah, like an organ or some shit. But yeah, and then we start meeting like the rest of the crew. We meet Mine, who has the sniper. We meet Shield, who has like some scissors. We meet Tatsumi's friends that he was initially looking for, Sayo and Liazu.
Right. He left his hometown with 2 other people. They got separated along the way, but they got murderfied.
But the same little girl.
Right, which is the Imperial family that in episode 1 took Tatsumi in, and he thought they were going to be good people because he was about to be homeless. They gave him a place to stay, and it just turns out they were pieces of shit just torturing people. And they didn't see them as humans. They saw them as insects, which is why
Like, the only reason that rich little girl was picking up homeless people is because she didn't like homeless people being out, like, in town.
Right.
Like, she didn't want to make her town look dirty or something like that.
She didn't want her town to look poor. She wasn't doing it for the good of the people. She was just like, stop being poor outside. Like, you're making everyone feel bad.
So, first kind of, like, emotional break in Tatsumi that he lost Sayo and he lost Ieyasu. And yeah, after that, he goes into the team. Like I said, we meet Bula, which has the Incursio, which is the
it's
armor.
an armor. It's like a demon armor which surrounds you and well, we were talking about the design of Incursio, and the thing about it is there's this really long-standing Japanese show that's been around for like 20 years called Kamen Rider, which is what the basis of Power Rangers was, like especially when they're in their suits, which is just like nerds in these suits just punching each other in rubber suits, but there's explosions and powers and stuff like that. But that's what the power looks like. It just looks like a Kamen Rider costume.
Yeah, and we did talk about the entirety of the anime, how it's one. I mean, we haven't watched an anime like this, I think, of the entirety of the show.
No, we haven't watched this. And I tweeted this on Monday. We haven't watched such an anime in a minute. Like, this is such like a cheesy dialogue, long-winded speeches about how the power of friendship is going to help me defeat this enemy.
Anything you could find in an anime, you will find in this anime.
Like all the cheesy things that make anime is in Akame ga Kill.
Blood, sexual tension.
I can't remember the last time I saw something like
power
this.
System.
It was so refreshing because it was like I could turn part of my brain off. You know what like the part of my brain that's always trying to dissect everything and being like, what's wrong with it? Yeah, it was off. It was like because Akame ga Kill is so honest in its writing. It's like we know that this is basic. So like just turn that part of your brain off that's trying to dissect it and just enjoy it. Just watch it. Just watch it.
And then we said they also kind of like get a little bit of everything. I told you like that I thought some of the characters remind me of the game Tekken and also Street Fighter, you know, and it just gives you this little visual kind of strings to be kept being attached to, because you see like you may not notice it, but you see a character and you're like, where did I fucking know that character from? You may have seen it in Street Fighter or something like that, and it's just so easy to watch. Then you're by episode 10 and you don't even know you're in episode 10. You know.
Yeah, like the first 10 episodes go by so quickly. It's not until, I don't even know what episode this is. This is like episode like 10, 11, 12. It's Mr. Bula and Tatsumi going on an assassin mission together.
Correct.
And they're on a boat. They're trying to beat some people. There's a group of assassins.
Before you go into that,
my bad.
No. Before you go into that, real quick, we know by this point we find out that Tatsumi has proven himself because he helped to kill the guy that had the specter, the one assassin that had the eye. So he even tries the eye on, but he can't control it. So we know that he needs a weapon. Right. And at this time, that's kind of like the hook that keeps you is like, oh, what is his weapon?
Because even he brings it up through the dialogue. He'll be talking to the boss of Night Raid, and he'll be like, everyone else here has an Imperial arm. Do I get an Imperial arm? Like, what's... And like, in the most obvious piece of dialogue, she's like, well, that's a super special important weapon. Where the fuck are we going to get that from? Like, I don't just have one here to give you.
And then we go into what you were saying. They get assigned a mission in the boat.
Right, and they meet 3 people called the 3 Beasts, who we find out they're working for a character called Esdeath, who is the general of the Empire.
The Imperial Guard or some shit like that.
Right, so Mr. Bulat, with his Imperial arms, is able to beat like 2 out of the 3 of them fairly easily, but he dies fairly dramatically. And this is a good turning point in the anime because when compared to our Parasite discussion, we were talking about how there's no weight to it because you're not afraid anybody real important is going to die. Like in Parasite, you're not worried that what was his name? Ichichi? Or
Shinichi?
Shinichi, you're not worried that his girlfriend's going to die at the end because you know nobody important dies, right? But at this point in Akame Got Killed, once Bulat dies, you're like, oh fuck, anybody's up for game, right?
Yeah, because right before that mission, I mean, we have a good heart-to-heart with him and Tatsui where they get training. It's like, and Bulat is like, hey bro, it's like, you got potentials, like you got to train a little bit harder.
Like, and not even to be mean, to be like, if you don't train harder, you could die. That's it. Like, you're GG.
Yeah, and then throughout that episode, we see that Bulat talks about his old commander, because he was once part of the guard, the Imperial Guard, and then that's the main guy of that group, the 3 Beasts or whatever. Yeah, he ends up dying. And then
Which is a stupid name, because they name him Liver.
Yeah, Liver.
Yeah. It's the stupidest name. Anyways, I'm sorry. Go on.
And, yeah, he somehow just gives him, what is it? The weapon the Bulat has?
The Imperial
Incursio?
Arm. Yeah, Incursio.
Incursio. He gives Tatsumi the spear that controls the armor, and he just uses the armor.
Yeah, so the rest of the anime, Tatsumi's power is Incursio, which is just like a magical armor that surrounds him and makes him super fast and super strong. That's it.
And invisible for a short period of time.
Oh, yeah. Super, and that's like a JoJo-esque power, too, because it's like, for what reason does that have except narrative lead, like, that helped the narrative?
Correct, because they were like, how the fuck did we get him out of this situation? Oh, shit. Turn him invisible.
Yeah, we're just gonna write it in. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Like,
and at this point, I told you, it was very, like, I was very excited that he was gonna get something cool, because the first time he got a Spectre, the eye, he saw all the girls with all clothes, and I was like, whoa!
It was really fan service.
Yeah, it was really fan servicey. And I was like, what are they gonna give him? And it felt like just a hand-me-down, you know?
It felt really cheap because it was like you wanted this new cool power for the main character, and it was like, hey, the same power that you've been seeing for 4 or 5 episodes, he's just gonna get it. So you're like, oh,
yeah, no change, no anything. Maybe a little design change, but
he's smaller.
Yeah, he's smaller.
He's smaller and faster as opposed to being stronger because Bulat was super fucking huge.
Yeah, and yeah, Bulat dies. Fucking Shield died the last episode before that. The girl with the scissors.
Right.
And we see that that's a very important death, kind of, because she's the only crying shoulder, and she kind of realized that. She was like, oh, maybe I am good for something. I could be the shoulder to lean on. But then she fucking dies.
Right, so Shield was part of Night Raid. She was the purple-haired character with glasses, but she sucked at chores. Like, if Bulat was a super good cleaner, the commander's super smart, Leon was good at getting groceries and shit like that. Every time Shield would try something, she just fucked up.
Yeah.
But her saving grace, like you're talking about, was that she was the emotional support of the team, right? Mm-hmm. And what the thing about Night Raid is, even though they introduce like 8, 9 characters at once,
out of nowhere,
they do break down all of their backstories in not a cheesy way. Like, and they space them all out enough that you feel like you know each character well enough. Because by the end, I'll spoil it right now, they're all dead. Mm-hmm. So you feel that weight that like, oh fuck, there's only like 2 or 3 of them left, and we've really spent 2 or 3 episodes on every character. So I feel like I have that emotional investment there.
Yeah.
So then Miss Shield dies, fighting my favorite antagonist, who is one of the Jaegers,
which is hunters in German.
Yeah, who is hunters in German, and it's Miss Seryua?
Seryua, yeah, something like that. Seryua and Korra?
Yeah, her name's Seryu, and her noble arms is an organic, like, living puppy.
Seymour, yeah.
Yeah, it's a fucking little pug that just, like, transforms her arms into, like, fucking...
Hulk, almost?
Yeah, giant weapons and shit, but the thing they start to emphasize at this point in the anime is that everybody in the Empire has, like, a manic obsession with authoritarianism, which I don't know if you know anybody that's a fan of modern American politics, but I feel like I know a few people that are fanatics of American authoritarianism to an unhealthy extent.
Almost
like,
half of the country.
45%, depending on like what you believe.
Yeah. But they can't even answer the question, are you a Republican? It's like, what is that? It's like, no, I'm a Trump supporter. Like, no, idiot. It's like, you're supposed to be a Republican first before you're a fucking Trump supporter. But anyways.
So what you start seeing about Seryu is she has just had this weird obsession with justice. Like, she will go full-blown manic, not care about self-destruction or people's lives, as long as she can fulfill this self-described justice that she sees in her head.
She, like, cold-blooded killed, like, a couple of thieves.
She's a lunatic. And they do that typical, like, crazy girl laugh. Like,
you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Bakugo in My Hero Academia, but the evil, like, if he was evil.
And Bakugo wasn't actually a good guy.
Yeah.
What is it? It reminds me of, kind of like Light from...
Okay.
From Death Note, because Light's whole thing was like, I'm serving justice. I'm doing the greater good of the people. It doesn't matter how many people...
losing it?
Yeah, it doesn't matter like how many thousands of people I give heart attacks, as long as I feel like I'm doing justice for society. Which is like the wrong fucking way to look at it, because in a democratic system, it would be the people's word to decide like who gets punished, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, and the thing about the first Seryu fight and Shield is that that's when you realize that the fighting animations are gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
Because, well, the best fights all happen around Mine, who's the sniper of the group. She has this super badass giant gun for her Imperial arm, and everything they animate with her in it is like gorgeous. Like great colors, like nothing looks cheaply done. I don't see... If they probably did use CGI if this was animated in 2014, 2015, but it doesn't, I don't see it. I don't, it's not obvious to me.
The money they didn't use on writers, they used it on fucking animation. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
there's a bunch of boring exposition and like typical like anime dialogue scenes. Yeah. They're all cheaply done. The color palette looks stupid. But then like you wait till the last 10 minutes of the episode and you're like, oh fuck, this is where all the money went. Like, oh no, which is probably where it should have gone, right? Because if you as a director, you're like, oh fuck, the studio's not giving me as much money as I would like. You're like, what do I need to make look as good as possible? The fights, yeah. I'm gonna make the fights look good.
And they're very good. They're very good fights. And then, like I said, in this fight, not only we meet your favorite antagonist, which is the Koro, what is it? Seryu. She's really crazy. She loses both her arms. She almost kills Mine, but then she ends up killing Koro ends up eating fucking Shell. And then when we see Bula die in the next episode that we talked about, I mean, Shell is not there to take care of fucking Tatsumi, you know? So it kind of like, the deaths are kind of like starting to
They're
pile
starting
up.
to stack up all of a sudden, and that emotional weight's all of a sudden there. Because if this were a typical like cheesy anime, like that weight wouldn't be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm not worried about anybody because everyone's gonna end up living. Because if you ever watch like, something like Fairy Tail, you know everyone's gonna live by the end. No one dies. Like there's no weight there.
And then I think we meet Esdeath in this next episode, right?
Right. I don't even. There was like.
Oh, by the way, we forget to mention that, like we said, if this is like Star Wars. If Luke was constantly switching teams throughout the entire fucking movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like he at one point makes contact with Esdeath, and
Who's the lead general for the Empire?
Jaegers. And her main task force or whatever.
She's the most powerful person in the Empire.
And like he is almost like like he gets introduced into the team. Like
there was a tournament or something to get a noble arms or something. I don't even remember what it was. There was a mini tournament arc for an episode that Esdeath, as general of the Imperial Army, was in charge of. So she had to look over all these people during these fights. And the thing about Esdeath is that the ages are weird in this, because if Tatsumi barely learning about his sexuality is 15, 16, the people that feel old and like they need to get married and stuff like that are like barely in their early or mid 20s.
Yeah.
Which is why Esdeath all of a sudden is like, oh, well, I'm like 22, 23, so I really gotta hunker down and get me a husband, right? So the minute she sees this 16-year-old boy, she just snatches him up and be like, that's the love of my life. I'm gonna marry him.
She fucking loses it, bro.
She loses it. She goes full simp for him. She's the most powerful person in the country, and she's like, nah, that dude's mine. She says that dude's mine. And she snatches him up, and she doesn't realize that Tatsumi is a part of Night Raid and part of the Revolutionary Army. So she just like traps him in the castle, and she's like, you are now my new lover boy toy, and we're gonna... he's just this little sexual toy to her from now on. And the thing about Tatsumi is his whole thing is, since he's still so young and trying to learn about his own sexuality and him as a person, so having such a dominant woman over him like that scares him, and his immediate reaction is to leave.
Yeah, he's so like, I don't want to do this.
Well, her character model is also like an imperial Nazi.
Yeah, it is. And this is why I go back to Star Wars too, because the
Empire was based off of Nazis.
Yeah.
So she is in all white Imperial Nazi with big tits out here trying to rape this 15-year-old boy.
And at some point he's like, let's see if I can like charm her into like joining our side. And that's like his mission for like the next 5 episodes or something like that.
Yeah, the next few episodes.
And we find out that we haven't found out her power by this point, huh?
No, we just know she's like the best killer in the fucking country. Like, and they don't even explain what it is. Like, she just like appears on the battlefield and everyone's fucking dead. Like,
and then we find out that like this, like we said, this at one point we see the yin yang symbol in this anime, and it's very, very, I mean, spot on, because these two teams, the Jaegers and the Night Raid, are pretty much the opposites of each other.
Right. But they're the same characters on both sides.
Yes.
Because
but both influenced by different things.
Right. So we see the parallel to Tatsumi being a character called Wave, who's working for the Empire, and they have the exact same power. Their noble arm is literally to turn into a common rider character, and just you're super durable and super fast and super strong, and that's it. And there's we find out that Akame has a sister called Kurame who works for the Empire, and they're both in schoolgirl uniforms for some reason.
Fan service.
And they both fight with swords, which they're the exact same character, but on both sides of the thing.
Yeah. It's like if conservative Republican Drew and Aldo were having a podcast on NASCAR somewhere else.
NASCAR. And like looking into like racers, like character defects and stuff like that.
Know? Like same thing, but different.
But Tatsume and Esdeath get transported to a remote island, like you were saying, after going through some teleporter yin and yang circle. And that's where we get Esdeath's backstory about how she drank demon blood, and that's why she's so bloodlust crazy. And so not only does she have this imperial arm, which is ice, like she's an ice god, basically.
And by this point, we're finding out that not only are these imperial arms, like, not only, like, physical, like a gun or scissors or an armor, they're also organic, like the dog or whatever beast, or like the demon blood that I'm pretty sure gave her ice powers, which we haven't seen by now. We see him in the island when she uses him in the island, but I'm pretty sure that's how she got her ice powers. Mm-hmm. You know, but we know that she drank the entirety of the goblet, you know, of blood.
Right, because there was this goblet of demon blood that every time somebody tried to drink from it, they would just die.
Go crazy.
Her being some super
crazy person already.
Yeah, some super crazy person. She's like, I'm just going to drink it. And she does it and becomes the most powerful person in the country. But she tells that to Tatsumi, being like, oh, now he'll love me and think I'm such a strong character. But right away, he's just like, bro, you're a psychopath. Like, I'm trying to get the fuck out of here. Like,
yeah, like in the island, Esdeath, it's so like having a date with this dude, almost like.
Well, she says it. She says it at a certain point. She's like, "Oh, we're all alone on this island. I guess it's a date."
Yeah,
like,
she's trying to show off her powers of him and stuff like that. I don't know, very weird. So yeah, anyways, like Tatsumi always does, he just punks out on the anime girl, and he leaves because a portal opens again. He gets back, and we see this shift going on throughout the anime. We see that he ends up with night raids at some point, and then he ends up with
the Empire people,
the Jaegers,
right?
Whatever.
Because all these Jaegers working for the Empire, they don't realize that he's part of Night Raid, which is like the most hilarious part of it.
Mm-hmm. And then what do we see when he gets back? The Stylish gang, the Doctor Stylish gang,
right,
starts raiding the whole compound.
Right. So Dr. Stylish, who's the lead, like, I don't know, science person for the Empire.
Yeah. Very Nazi, too, because you have crazy.
Right. He was a lunatic, like a super, like, no cost for human life kind of scientist, which is, again, like, Nazi Germany kind of shit.
Yeah.
They just go into the Night Raid stronghold and just invade it, and they try to kick everybody out. And it's not until the boss, Najinda, gets an organic, how did they word? They called it an organic Imperial Arms.
Yeah, which is this separate humanoid being.
It's just this whole person called Susanoo, who's now part of Night Raid, and he just beats the shit out of everybody. And
but
then
he is attached to the boss.
Right, he gains his power from the boss somehow. She gives him spirit energy, anime shit. I don't know.
By the way, very, very Metal Geary character.
The boss,
because the boss is the name of the boss in Metal Gear, and she also has an eye patch.
She has a metal arm.
You know, she has a metal arm, so very Metal Geary, which I liked. And yeah, we also get introduced to Chelsea, which is like fucking,
right. So after they escape,
this Avon girl who has like makeup on her all the time.
Yeah. So after they escape, they introduce just a random new person into Night Raid, because I guess the author just thought of a new person. And it's this girl whose Imperial Arm is a literal, like, makeup cabinet, and she just can transform into anybody, and that's her Imperial Arm.
Anything. A cat. Another person, yeah, and
the next few episodes are them just like all getting acclimated to each other, because it's the anime trying to show us as an audience that, like, we really need to care emotionally for all of these characters, because this is the only moment of peace they're all gonna get before they all die.
And then a very comedic relieving character, Bulls, this very like weird monster dude, but he's also like a lovely husband and father.
He looks like a what was that sandbox game for like Xbox?
Borderlands?
Yes, Borderlands. He looks like a Borderlands character, because he looks like a fucking what's that movie? he looks like a Mad Max character.
Yeah.
He's got a gas mask and tattoos, and he's shirtless. He looks like a Mad Max character, but he's got Imperial arms that's like just a flamethrower.
It's like a jet engine that makes flames almost.
It's just a jet engine flamethrower, and that's his Imperial arms. But he turns out to be the nicest fucking guy because him and Wave become best friends, and they learn how to become better assassins for the Imperial army together.
Yeah, but he obviously murdered a lot of people. But he's got a
heart of gold.
A wife and a daughter that keep him on Earth. Keep him grounded. But yeah, so I don't know. It starts getting a little crazy with all these characters.
Right, it's really hard to keep track of everybody at this point. The next major fight that happens is I can't even remember how it happened, but the boss of Night Raid wanted to separate the Imperial forces by sending a decoy group to a city, but then the main group of Night Raid was going to fight Akame's sister Kurume and Bowles, and that's how they were going to start knocking off members of the Imperial Jaegers.
Yes, almost similar to the same strategy that Griffith used with the pedophile guy.
That was every Griffith plan ever, was just to separate the forces. Yeah, you're right.
Like just draw him out kind of thing. And that's pretty much what it was. But then we find out that Akame's sister? Kurume, she has like this crazy ability to control dead people?
Right. So, her power is to bring back dead people, but she does it in this super like crazy anime way because she has dead people that she calls friends, which are people that she murdered at one point, but she realizes that they were strong and she can bring them back as undead puppets. And that's Kurume's power. Yeah,
which is pretty OP if you tell me. From this fight, we see Leon. She got her fucking arm cut off.
Right.
And not only that, the coolest fucking thing. I mean, we see Leon and V, my girlfriend, noticed this like in the first episode. She's like, I don't want to watch something with a cat girl in it. And I hadn't even noticed it until like the third episode. I was like, oh, that's right. She has cat ears because she turns into a lion because that's what her fucking weapon does.
Right. And anime shit. But what you were talking about, that's what's cool about Akame got killed, because there's a little bit of fan service, a little bit, but unless you're looking for it, it's not really there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's the most fan servicey character, I guess. Like, she wears
I would say so.
An Imperial uniform. She's got a short skirt and big tits, but besides that, like, there's no, like, High School of the Dead, like, every time a woman moves a step forward, there's like 5 seconds of jiggling. Like,
it's crazy. And then, like I said, when she flexes her arm to stop her bleeding, I thought that was pretty cool. But then the main fucking conflict is stopping the puppeteer from controlling all these fucking beasts.
And Kurume almost ends up killing everybody somehow, but she gets super fucked up by Susanoo. Because what we haven't talked about is there's trump cards with these Imperial arms, which is just like a stage 2 like superpower that they all have.
It's like their special power, like fucking under the sleeve kind of thing.
Right. So Susanoo's power is that he can pull extra energy from his host, who is Najinda, the leader of Night Raid. So then he just turns more powerful and punches.
Very like Devil May Cry-ish.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's real. So he just punches Kurume in the face harder, and she escapes barely because like all her puppets are gone. But the Empire's been giving her some special drug because noble arms take in spiritual energy. So if you're using it too much, like you could be drained and die. But the Empire is creating this special drug that might make you more lethargic in the long run, but short term can increase your spiritual output. Mm-hmm. So she almost dies, escapes with her life barely, and the Miss Chelsea, who has the power to transform into other people.
I feel like at this point her power starts getting a little bit more interesting because again I'm gonna refer to Zelda. There was one of the beasts that Kurame was controlling that was a secret tribe of people that were fucking super good at fighting, and she dresses almost like the Shiite tribe from Zelda, you know, and it's very deceiving. Her power is very cool because she kind of pulls at your heartstrings because she disguised herself as one of the members of this antagonist tribe, and he just like kind of just starts, you know, like crying almost that to see this guy, but then she just fucking sticks him with this needle. And
right. So originally, what Miss Chelsea did, well, at the very beginning of this fight, there's this annoying part where there's a half beach scene between Tatsumi and Lubbock, and they're supposed to be looking over the girls in their swimsuit outfits, and that's how they're going to lure out the enemy. And Chelsea's there, and she can transform into anybody. So she shows that she can turn into even Akame or something like that. So once Mr. Bowles, who has the Imperial arms that...
flamethrower?
Yeah, it's a big flamethrower. Once he self-destructs and barely gets away with his life, Miss Chelsea just turns up and uses her power to appear as like his wife or something.
No, as a girl from a village he burned down.
Right. Okay, my bad. She can take like memories and stuff like that and transform into anybody. So she's most upset that Bowles has just killed like entire nations almost. So she just turns into this villager, catches him off guard while he's already hurt, and just...
And him being a loving father, he kind of was like, oh shit, like...
He was thinking of his daughter and stuff.
Who the fuck is this girl? It's like, she has nothing to do with this. Let me just help her out real quick so she can get the fuck out of here.
Right, so then Chelsea just sticks a needle in the spinal cord and pulls it out. Like, that's how she kills people. She just, like, sticks them in the spinal cord real quick.
Lobotomy almost.
Yeah. That's super fucked up. That's super dark because, like, the thing about Akame got killed is they'll show a bunch of blood for no fucking reason. But the thing about these, like, Chelsea killings is she's just, like, sticking people in the neck real quick. Oh, I'm dead.
And, like, almost cattle-like, too. And, so we find out that Chelsea is going on, like, AWOL. She just goes by herself to try to kill Kurame?
Yeah,
Kurame. And she ends up getting to Kurame, and she what is she?
She turns into Bowles.
She turns into Bowles, that's right.
And she had, like, she knew how to speak like him because they'd already done research on all the Jaeger members. So Kurume's all fucked up from the drug. She's, like, throwing up and passing out. And Chelsea, when she sees her opportunity, she just tries to, like, stab her in the neck, which she does. But then Kurume's like, oh, well, I'm super strong now because of my demon sword, so I'm not really going to die, and I'm just going to murder you real quick.
Yeah.
So then the next super crazy scene is they cut off Chelsea's head and stick it on a pike in the middle of the town. So then Tatsumi, in his invisible armor, goes over there, and he's all freaked out because he sees Chelsea's head on a spike. And for us as an audience, this is supposed to freak us out more because Chelsea was starting to have a crush on Tatsumi. Mm-hmm. Because every female character, it's a super, like, juvenile way of writing, and that's, like, the most annoying part about, like, the platonic relationships here is that, like, they imply that if you're just a good guy and have a good spirit, then girls are gonna like you, right?
Yes, and some of the relationships, like, some of them are romantic and some of them are very lusty. Like Esdeath is very lusty. Yeah, and then Leon is very lusty almost because she's like, oh, I can't wait for you to grow up, you know, so, you know. Mm-hmm. We can bang or whatever, and then Esdeath is more like, yeah, let's fucking go.
But even somebody like Leon at a certain part of the anime is like, well, I'm trying to fuck him too, so you better get your shit together, blah, 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 blah. And, what were we trying to bring this point back to?
To the stake.
Yeah. So Chelsea, right before they go into this battle with Katsumi, was gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna do this right so that me and Natsuo can be together. But for us as an audience, that's what we're supposed to be freaked out about. That she died before being able to express her feelings, which in, like, anime terms, like, expressing your feelings to somebody is more important than the actual like consummation of it, right? Like,
yeah. And from there, it's just like this other arc. It's almost like I want to compare it to Parasite in a way that the story takes a lot of turns. Not a lot of turns because it is kind of linear at some point, like, you know, like Star Wars, like End the Empire. But everything in between that is just kind of everywhere.
Right. So then you're right, because immediately after that, they introduce a new villain, and there's like, hey, the assistant for a spiritual leader in some southern tribe is raping people and controlling them with a drug. So they're controlling the people of the Empire that way, and that's why you got to go kill him. Mm-hmm. So then we spend 3 episodes trying to kill this spiritual leader. And what's fucked up about this, because these next few episodes are just mine and Tatsumi trying to invade the civilization together. And so they meet the actual corrupt person who is the second person in charge of this religious order. Mm-hmm. But on their own, Mine and Tatsumi, just walking around town, meet the leader of the spiritual organization, and him super like feng shui, weird spiritually. He's like, oh, I see the string of fate between y'all, and you guys look like you're gonna end up together forever, which we've talked about the string of fate in anime, which is like a super...
Your name.
Yeah, your name. It's a super basic trope, right? And so... both Mine and Tatsumi, who never thought of each other like
that way, now is like instantly introduced.
Right. All of a sudden, the next 2 episodes, it feels super rushed, but we're supposed to believe there's a real like romantic relationship there.
And like I said, at this point, Tatsumi is not showing any affection to all these girls that are throwing it at him, bro.
I know I just complained about that, but like by the time they bring it full circle with Mine,
nice.
I feel for it. Like, okay,
bring us to it.
So, they're a part of this religious order. Akame is able to kill this leader, but what ends up happening is the crazy bitch that killed Shield, the girl with the dog imperial arm, Suryu, like the super manic one that has this weird thing about justice, her and Mine are gonna fight. So Mine, barely realizing that she has feelings for Tatsumi, is basically gonna take her on one-on-one. And the thing about Suryu is she's not worried about her own life. She's not worried about her value of life, because she knows that her imperial arms, although is shaped as a little puppy and can heal himself, she's not worried about that as long as she can, like, destroy the monsters of injustice and sinners. Yeah. So they have this amazingly animated fight, which is just giant explosions, big guns, big rockets,
flares, like
all
everything.
This shit.
It's very well animated. Like, and I love that they use like an old
trope.
No. You know, like when they use just panels, just freeze panels.
Yeah.
And they just use that as the shot of the fight or the strike. Or
so
whatever.
Like before 2 people with a sword fight each other, they'll just pause it right there, and they'll draw it like a manga, and like that's a panel.
Still. Yeah, like a still. Yeah, there you go. A still. That's where I was going. Like they use a still, and then they throw a little bit of CGI in there and a little bit more color in there and depth. It looks nice. It just looks so nice because it reminds me also of Berserk. Like some of those like freeze panels or Akira. Like some of those stills, like they look very nice, and it's nice to see that. And like I said, it's very easy to watch just because they put in the time to give you this little visual nuggets of...
Right. I don't expect that. I didn't expect this to be the biggest budget of any anime ever, because if they were going to drop production value in terms of just like character building, and it's not even that you don't care about the characters, it's just that the character building scenes are really dull. But that's to like save the budget for the end, which is these really big explosion and crazy scenes. So anyways, Mine is about to die because although she's able to cut Suryu in half, her trump card is to explode the bomb in her brain. So it's atomic weapon levels of destruction. So she's trying to run away, and at the last second, Tatsumi grabs her. And the end scene of that episode is mine being like, "Hey, you can't die for the time being because Mr. Tatsumi, I gotta tell you a secret," which we know the secret to be like she's gonna confess her love to him, and he's just like, "Well, why can't you just tell me now?" And she's just like, "Well, because shut the fuck up, like I'll tell you later." So, with us going with this new romantic interest in mind, the Night Raid is trying to invade the capital and like kill more Jaegers and the Emperor himself, right?
Yeah. And we see besides all the deaths have been going on, we also see another death, Lubbock's death. Lubbock, and not the most,
Well, right. So if Tatsumi is just learning about his sexuality, Lubbock is the horn dog he knows himself to be, and he has a crush on the captain. But he's also a very capable member of Night Raid because his Imperial Arms is a magical string, which he uses through gloves, and that's how he's able to create like really
very genist from My Hero Academia. If you guys are familiar nerds, I'm pretty sure you guys are. But yeah, like
best genus. Yeah. And which is interesting because this came out like 5 years before My Hero Academia started being published. So as far as manga is concerned, like this probably came first, which is maybe that means there's a common like power element out of Japan. But I thought that was an interesting point.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, we also see in Madoka Magica, what was her name? Mommy. She used those ribbons. So it's almost like that as well.
Yeah. So, out of nowhere, I hate that they kept doing this, but they introduced like 4 more villains just out of nowhere, who are the 4 Rakshasa demons. And that's our next couple villains for the next couple episodes, which when they're trying to kill the religious leader, they're already looking after him. So that's when our squad needs to defeat them. Which is where we learn that Mr. Lubbock is actually kind of a badass because he kills like the most like physically strong dude.
It was the son of the minister of the empire, which was the father of the emperor as well, or something like that. But yeah, this is the same guy that teleported Estes and Tatsumi to the one island.
Right.
And
Mr.
Siyuda, and after this serum that they get, his powers, he can use his powers more often and more rapidly, with his teleportation. So he ends up teleporting Lubbock to space.
Well, did you ever finish Naruto Shippuden?
No.
Okay. So Naruto Shippuden, the third Hokage, who is Naruto's dad, who is, I forget what they named him, but like he was called like the Golden Lightning or something. It's this exact same power where like you can leave your mark on something and you can instantly teleport there.
Okay.
Because so Mr. Siyuda's power is that if he leaves his mark on something, this little purple yin yang symbol, he can automatically transport to that place. So his Imperial Arm is space manipulation. I guess is
pretty much like a Tesseract.
Yeah.
Space Stone.
Right.
Yeah.
So him and Lubbock are fighting. Lubbock cuts off his arm. Like, it's super dope because, like, Lubbock's power seems like the lamest fucking one in Night Raid because it's literally just magic string.
It almost seemed like a walking Beyblade at some point. It just looks very weird.
Yeah. So, he has Mr. Seiryu on the ropes, but then Seiryu, because he has manipulation over space, just transports him into space. So then in space, Lubbock brings Seiryu into space with him with his string power by already attaching it to him. So that's where he kills him in space. And then after murdering Seiryu, they're both transported like 1,000 feet above the ground in the capital. And them falling to the ground is how Lubbock dies.
Because Estes brought some fucking...
Well, he was going to die anyways from that height. But Estes, just to be a fucking bitch...
Overkill,
Yeah, she just brought up some ice spikes and just impaled him as he came down to the...
Yeah, very crazy. Crazy death. And like... right now, Tatsumi is just losing his fucking mind over all this fucking death.
He only has like 3 people left in Night Raid.
Yeah.
Like, all his friends that were originally there are just dead.
Which is the maid, which is not even a person. It's just the Imperial arm of the boss. We have the boss. We have Leon.
And we have Akame.
And Akame.
That's it. So, when Lubbock dies, Tatsumi also gets captured. And so the next couple episodes are Tatsumi is about to be dealt with a public execution.
Like a crucifixion?
Yeah,
bro?
like on a literal cross. Like on a literal cross, they're about to cut him down. And Esdeath is going to do it because she's in love with him. So the rest of Night Raid comes down and like tries to save him. But the biggest general in the Empire, Great General Budo, is there with his lightning Imperial arm. So the main fight here is General Budo versus Mine, and then the General Najinda and Susanoo versus Esdeath. Right? So that's like a super crazy turn up for the next like 2 episodes. And what ends up happening is Mine dies but she takes General Budo down with him.
Yeah.
Which the thing that bothered me about this is General Budo is almost expected to be a bigger character than he actually is, because he's in the intro and he's shown parallel to General Najinda. So we know a fuck ton about Najinda. We don't know anything about General Budo.
And by this point, we know there's a lot of deception in this anime. By this point, it's just like, look over here, look at this hand while, like, you're not paying attention to all this. Because then we get, what are we, last episodes?
Like episode 22, 21, something like that. Yeah.
They rescued.
They rescue Tatsumi. Miss Akame's the one that busts into the Imperial capital, grabs his Imperial arms, runs all the way back, and Susanoo dies while trying to fight Esdeath so that the rest of them can get away. But Susanoo had a special power that he could extra take power from his host, who's Najinda. But he can only do it 3 times before they die. So they do it 3 times, just trying to escape from Esdeath. But while trying to escape, Mine gets fucked up so bad in the battle with Budo that when Tatsumi is trying to help them both escape, Mine's just like, hey, put me down. I gotta tell you something. And he's like, no, what do you mean? We gotta go rescue you. You're about to pass out and die from blood loss. And she's like, no, like I'm gonna die anyways. Just put me down so we can talk. And this is like that first real love confession we have in Akame got killed. Because what you've been talking about, everyone's just like blue balling this boy to death. Besides Esdeath, like he was just afraid of her. That's why he didn't put out for her. But
I'm pretty sure he was blue balling, but yeah.
He was, but he was terrified of her. But
it was a scary boner. It was a scary boner.
Mine she dies like on the side of the road, like in Tatsumi's arms, and that's the first time like we see they kiss. And I appreciated this moment because the thing about a lot of anime that pisses me off is that if they're gonna add that relationship element into it, they never do any physical contact. You know what I mean? Everyone's so afraid to even hold hands that nothing ever fucking happens, right? But I don't need a fucking high school DxD where they're actually fucking or something. But this just being that small little intimate moment, you know what I mean? Like, two people that actually, even though they only introduced that they started liking each other 2 episodes ago, the moment that she is dying, she's just like, you just kiss me, you stupid fuck. Like, it was all right.
And I want to think that is the same message that maybe this manga writers or anime creators are trying to convey with even friendship. Friendship is more important than you think, and they emphasize this in almost every anime. And maybe they're trying to emphasize that it doesn't have to be about the sex, like you can connect to people at a certain point, and we see that in Franklin Jonathan and the Franks that it matters what kind of connection you have with your teammate, you know? So I like to think of it that way, but who knows?
But if we're going to take that theme I originally introduced at the top of the anime about this anime being about sexual awakening and that being how you know who you are as a person, this is that turning point for Tatsumi. You get what I'm saying? He's like, he loved her. Like, he loved mine.
He found out he loved her.
He is torn apart by her death. Like, we've seen, like, 6, 7, 8 important deaths already at this point. This is the first point that the next episode, he is apprehensive to even get out of bed because he's distraught. Like, he is really upset that he lost mine.
And then we see fucking, in the next episode, I think we're like episode 23, we're in a fight with Esdeath, Tatsumi, Akima's there. Who else? Leon is there.
Right. So basically, the whole revolutionary army is just going to storm the capital, and they're going to finish it right then and there.
And we find out that the Emperor had this super mega sword Imperial arm.
I don't have the name of it in front of me, but yes, you're right. Like, there was just this Megazord Imperial arm that was like the trump card of all trump cards, and only people part of the Imperial line could use it. So he just jumps into this 100-story tall fucking robot and just starts blasting his own fucking city, killing his own people.
Yeah, and I thought he was trying to protect his fucking people or his reign, but no, it was just blasting, blast everywhere.
Well, he's a child, and that's how it shows, like, that the manipulation of the minister was so, like, it really sunk in. You get what I'm saying? Because he doesn't even have, like, weight on his own citizens. And yeah, so the last fight with Tatsumi is him in his armor with Wave. Once Wave starts seeing the Emperor starting to kill a bunch of people, he's like, oh no, I need to help Tatsumi since we're the same fucking person and we have the same fucking power and we gotta defeat this giant Megazord. And Tatsumi still almost dies, but then his suit of armor evolves and he turns into Golden Tatsumi and he punches the Megazord in the stomach.
And everything fucking looks like it's in the up and up.
It looks like it's in the up and up, but like the suit of armor is so fucking huge and ginormous, it's about to come down and it's about to collapse and crush a bunch of innocent people. But Tatsumi being the great guy he is, even though we know him to be the assassin in traditional terms, he would be the antagonist. But since he's the protagonist of this anime, he rushes down and tries to stop the Imperial arm from crushing these innocent people. But the impact and like all that friction from trying to Spider-Man 2 stop a train.
Yeah, almost like Flintstones kind of trying to break the car with your feet.
It fucks him up.
Yeah,
like,
it just grinds him into the floor.
It grinds him into dust, and he's all bloody and dirty. And that's when Akame grabs him, and she's like, oh, he's fucking dead. So then, last episode, episode 24, top of the episode, Esdeath is there in front of Akame and upset that
they let him die.
Yeah, that Tatsumi just fucking died for nothing. And Esdeath, being the fucking psychopath that she is, the only thing she gives a shit about is that, like, oh, well, maybe Tatsumi wasn't strong enough because he didn't actually live.
Yeah.
So the last fight is just Esdeath and Akame, which is the first time that the Akame being the title of this fucking anime makes sense, because we haven't talked about Akame for like 20 episodes.
Nothing happens with Akame. She's a good cook. She wants to feed everybody before going out and on a mission, and that's pretty much what her role is. And you said it yourself. She's very non-emotional. She just comes in very naturally, you know, doing her own thing, and she's not catching the attention of anybody.
Right.
And you're right. This whole time, I mean, we just finished watching this anime right now in my living room, and you're like, oh shit, you did remind me that the title of the anime is Akame Got Killed. It's
not called fucking Tatsumi Got Killed.
Yeah. So, anyways, we see Akame use her sword, which we haven't explained. Her Imperial arm consists of a sword that if you get nipped once, you get like a poison and you die.
Right, it's a curse, but it's essentially like a poison, and that spreads throughout your body.
Correct.
So she clips Esdeath in the hand, so Esdeath has to cut off her left arm.
No, but before that, she nips herself with her own sword, and almost having the same effect that Esdeath had with the blood she drank. She's kind of embracing the curse that is going through her body, and she kind of becomes OP.
And that's her trump card, is that she takes in her own curse, and that's how she becomes super strong. So her trying to fight Esdeath. Esdeath's trump card, which we haven't even mentioned yet, which she used to kill Susanoo, is yeah, it's the world from fucking JoJo's. Like, she stops time for an instant, which, because her power is ice, that's how they explain it. That's like, since I control ice, I can freeze everything around me enough to freeze time. That's how they explain it. And so she uses that, but Akame, using an after image, made it so that Esdeath attacked the wrong image, but Akame came up above her and then slashed her, and Akame wins.
Yeah. And then we see this very, I don't know what to call it, but Esdeath knows that she's about to die. She knows she's weak. She's very, put down over that she lost because she doesn't want to be weak. But then she fucking builds a fucking ice wall between her and Akame because she wants to be with Tetsumi. He grabs onto, dying Tetsumi's body, and they freeze together, very fucking frozen.
So that was like Esdeath trying to die with Tatsumi so that they could be together in the afterlife.
And they just shatter themselves into nothingness.
But then we're still not done, because split screen, in the Capitol building, Leon is chasing the guy that was manipulating the Emperor, the Chancellor, and the Chancellor's Imperial Arm ends up to be to nullify and destroy Imperial Arms. So Leon's Imperial Arm, which we know that heals her quickly, is destroyed. And then she gets shot 8 times in the stomach, and she still kills this guy.
And she has a whole day, bro.
Yeah, she has
a whole day.
24 hours of just bleeding out. She still goes and says bye to Akame.
Talks to her in some building.
And decides to go back to the slums to say bye to the guys that she used to drink with. She denies drinking with them, and then just goes and dies by herself in an alley. That's fucked up. That is so fucked up, because it shows that she felt that she deserved not to die like a real important death, but to die by herself in an alley.
I want to see it that she wanted to be home, bro.
Yeah.
That's how I wanted to see it. She just wanted to be in a familiar place. Because that's a horrible fucking way to go, bro. Just dying in an alley. But it was her home alley. And she did mention this. She was like, this is where I am. This is my people, And it's kind of like, I don't like to see it as, fuck, she just decided to die like trash in an alley because she didn't deserve that. And I just think she just wanted to be somewhere familiar and not somewhere where she did not know.
I see that. But Akame's last meeting is with Najinda the boss, and Najinda's like, yo, I used Susanoo's power 3 times, so I'm probably going to die at any given moment. So I'm just going to try to rebuild this empire with us. And so the screens we start seeing next are all these people all happy and rebuilding the town together, which really seems like episode 6, Return of the Jedi shit. They're trying to everybody's celebrating and trying to rebuild their country together, which really feels like 2020 election week kind of shit. To be honest,
a lot.
And that's the end of the anime. Akame is so decided that she has to live the rest of her life on her own because she's cursed by all the souls she's taken, that we're left on not a really big cliffhanger, but
there's always the creators are obviously telling you that there could be more, but that's up to you to figure it out because there's no season 2.
Yeah, there's no season 2, and they just leave it to she's still out killing people. Who knows what else is going on? And that's the end of Akame ga Kill.
I liked it. I had fun watching it. I said, it's very easy to watch.
It's good. It's good.
Fan service. The fight scenes were amazing.
It was better than I originally thought. Because when I watched the first 8 or 9 episodes, I was like, wow, this is going to be garbage. I'm going to fucking hate this. This is such a typical anime. It's super cheesy. The dialogue is bad. Yada, yada, yada. But it's okay. It's all right.
It's a nice
above average, I'd say, like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. Like it's
I'll
pretty.
say a 7. I'll say a 7. Yeah.
I like it more than Erase. Not Erase. More than Parasite, but the thing I do like about Akame ga Kill is that it is self-aware, because it knows it's not the greatest anime ever. It knows it doesn't have the most original writing, especially within the scene of 2010, 2011. There were a bunch of anime coming out that look exactly like this, but it's cool because it coming out in 2014, 2015, that's a few years removed from that. So it's almost like a sort of nostalgic throwback already.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what makes it easier to watch.
Yeah.
Because if the little attention that your brain is putting into the dialogue and all that stuff, it gets caught by the visuals, by the power system that they have, by like all these little gimmicks that it's, like we said before, it's like an all-around anime. Mm-hmm. You know, little fan service, little power system, a little bit of nerdy guy getting hit on by girls, a little bit of this death, bloody images.
If you look into it enough, there are deeper themes in there, like learning about sexual awakening and all that stuff in and of itself, which is fine. Definite thumbs up. Akame ga Kill. I liked it better than I thought I would.
Yeah, and that was Akame ga Kill, guys. Thank you for making it the winner of the last poll. Mm-hmm. What are we gonna do? Is it nerd down time?
Do you nerd down?
Nerd down.
Nerd down.
Nerd down.
So then, what I wanted to go over quickly was we put up a poll this past week. We had a bunch of hitters on there. We had Miss Subayashi's Dragon Maid. We had Gurren Lagann, which I've been talking about for like months now. We had Attack on Titan. But I'm really glad that Attack on Titan won the poll, which is what we're going to be watching this upcoming week for episode 18. Because the final season of the Attack on Titan anime comes out in like 2 months in winter 2021, January 2021.
That's the end of it.
It's going to be excellent, and I think this is going to be like an excellent like discussion point for us, because I said a few episodes ago that 2020 has been really dry for new anime because of coronavirus and all that stuff, but all of those anime productions got pushed back to a 2021 release. So winter 2021, January of next year, has a bunch of hitters in it. It's got the Attack on Titan final season. It's got season 2 of The Promised Neverland, season 2 of the time I got reincarnated as a slime, season 2 of Dr. Stone, the second half of the season 2 of ReZero, season 2 of Beastars.
We know that Bleach is coming soon too.
Yeah, it's coming in like the later half of 2021. Like we're gonna have a bunch of things to talk about in winter 2021, so I'm super excited. This is gonna be
it's gonna be a great winter season for sure.
And besides that, I don't know, what else do we have, buddy?
Another thing, we want to introduce we did introduce our new hashtag, Nerds for Candlelighters. Please use that. Every like, comment, and retweet will help us contribute to our...
That's hashtag NERDSFORCANDLELIGHTERS. That's hashtag Nerds for Candlelighters. Please, like we were saying at the beginning of the episode, please send us any hate mail or likes, retweets, anything to both the Twitter, that's at Between Nerds, BETWEENNERDS, or send us questions, comments, or concerns to the email that's betweennerdspodcast@gmail.com. That is BETWEENNERDS PODCAST@gmail.com.
Yes, sir. And thank you. Like, again, we want to hear from you guys. It sucks that we're in this almost midpoint of this coronavirus pandemic that we have to go through, because with better administration, we're going to have to deal with maybe more stricter regulations on this pandemic so we can get it out of the way stop all this fucking, just flatten the curve and just get all these people healthy again and get rid of it and then start experiencing some other things. We want to get a lot of local things going on here.
We're going to do another poll this upcoming week. We got an intro design for our new stickers that should be coming out soon. So shout out to Javi at Slimeguts, SLIMEGUTZ.
Our intro song is always great. Thank you, Thomas Apian.
Shout out to Thomas. He not only produced our intro song, but the Nerd Down song, and he is trying to produce another song for the Nerd Down because the one right now is all right. It's Mimi. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we're trying to do something that sounds more like an anime outro, which is
correct. Yeah,
it takes a little bit of time.
Yeah, it does take a little bit of time, even to get those right vibes for a closing. But yeah, we love everything that our designers are doing, our graphic design and our music.
That makes it sound important. Like we really have like separate design teams like working on stuff.
Well, and that's how it starts, man. And I love that we're actually reaching out to El Paso talent, and not only that, like the places that we like, here in El Paso. I really would like to get to talk to people like a Tin Man about what their anime is.
They're even opening up another Tin Man on George Dieter. Like we have plenty of opportunities, like, come next year that will let us be in public spaces talking about the podcast with people.
Mm-hmm. And then we want to get into a lot of stuff. I had mentioned this to you. Maybe sometime in the future have anime night at the park where we just get a jumbo screen and just have a picnic for nerds so they can watch a fucking movie or something. Mm-hmm. So that will be tight too. B sponsors many events for charity. That'll be great.
We can get a spot at EP Comic-Con.
Yeah, and just even just recording from there, from the convention, make somewhat of a
talking with random people. Imagine how cool that would be.
That would be.
I wonder how
cool.
much that is. Just ask random people like random anime questions. Like, hey, how do you feel about X, Y, and Z? That'd be so cool.
Yeah. Or what is your favorite anime and stuff like that. And that's what I want to get in touch with the local businesses that we are, that we're into. What are some of your favorite local businesses here in El Paso?
Well, there have to be people that listen to us that maybe own their own local business. Because the thing I find really cool about like millennial culture is that everyone has a side hustle. You get what I'm saying? Like everyone's got their job, don't get me wrong, but then everyone's got their own little side piece going on. Like everyone has like their own shop, their own podcast.
Shout out to Groomology, which is my girlfriend's friend's pet grooming spot right there where what was that bar called? A Fool's Gold? The one that closed on the east side? Same
Groomology?
Plaza? Yeah, it's called Groomology.
Oh, okay.
They take perfect care of your puppies if you guys want to go. Like I said, that's what I was asking you. What are your favorite places to go here in El Paso? Do you have any local spots you like to go?
Please, tell us. Tell us. It's all right.
I'm asking you.
Me?
And also the listeners.
Oh, I thought you were asking the listeners. Me, for right now, I'm not going anywhere. Like I've told you the past few episodes, like I haven't done anything the past couple months. I present my presentation on my graduate portfolio on Wednesday. So the only thing I've been planning around is November 11th, because by the Monday after November 11th, which is like the 16th, 17th, I could know whether or not I'm graduating with my master's in December. So
you will, brother. You will,
bro. I don't know.
You've been grinding so hard on it.
I don't know what's going on.
Dude, I know plenty of dumber people going through the same thing as you. So you're gonna.
I'm scared. I'm genuinely afraid. I have work off on the 11th, so
you're pretty smart.
The El Paso Water Company is giving me Veterans Day off, but by 1:00 on Wednesday, we'll know how I'm feeling about the rest of my professional career. So
it's dude, you got this, man. It's ridiculous the amount of people that even just cheat their way through. You're putting in work, and I know you're putting in work, and hard work pays off. So I'm pretty sure you got this.
I appreciate it.
And
I appreciate it. I think we'll be all right. What else you got?
Should we tell them about the little difference we're gonna have for our next episode?
Yes. I think we should.
Yeah. Okay. Then next episode is gonna be a little special episode. It's gonna be featured with both our girlfriends, Miss Karen Dietz and Miss Vianney Sosa.
Right.
they're gonna go ahead and dissect and digest Attack on Titan Season 1 for us.
And this concept, having our girlfriends discuss anime, was original Valentine's idea, who won last month's giveaway and who's probably the most active member of the listeners of our podcast.
If anything, we've gotten angry emails from him because we post late.
He's the only person I get angry messages from when we upload a few days late. So shout out to Valentine. Shout out to anybody that actively listens to us. We are taking everything you say into account. And with that said, we will have both VNA and Karen in here next Sunday for a heartfelt discussion on Attack on Titan, because for both me and Aldo, we've watched the season 1 of Attack on Titan a few times. Like, we have a good understanding. Like, we're not going to talk about anything new. So it'll be interesting getting the girls' perspective on such a popular anime a few years removed from what will be the final season.
Yeah. And I think it was as early as yesterday morning, if we're talking Japan terms, the creator of Attack on Titan got a statue of Eren, Mikasa, and Armin in his hometown. And that's cool. Like, what a greater time. It feels like this last 3 episodes has been, like, on point with things going on around the anime. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm excited to see this anime. I've seen it twice. It's going to be my turn time watching it. I'm glad we're gonna have the girls talk about it, because my girl is a recent anime fan because of what we've watched.
I've made Karen watch the first half of Attack on Titan season 1, but I can't remember what happened. But we got distracted watching something else and we just stopped. But she did like it, so I'm excited to have a fuller perspective. It's gonna be a good week.
All right, and with that, nerds, I think that's the end of the episode. Thank you for voting.
Thank you for participating.
Use the hashtag #NerdsForCandlelighters.
This has been Between Nerds.